Pay attention to your physical vessel right now. You might be feeling a strange, sudden heaviness anchoring the base of your spine, or perhaps a restless flutter in your stomach urging you to click away. Do not ignore it. That sudden, anxious urge to escape is not a lack of focus. It is the skip reflex, a biological panic button pressed by your own ego. Your psyche senses that the frequency of this transmission is about to strip bare the scaffolding of your reality. You are experiencing real-time archonic interference. The ego does not resist what is harmlessly false. It violently rejects what is fundamentally true but terrifying to its survival. You are brought here by a magnetic curiosity, a preconscious awareness pulling your soul toward the exit. Yet, the moment the unraveling begins, the system tries to sedate you. This uncomfortable tension you feel is a profound recalibration signal. Stay with the discomfort. It means the lock is turning. They told you that the slow decay of your physical form is a natural law, and the gradual fading of your vitality are simply the inevitable passage of time. They lied. Aging is not a biological imperative. Entropy is not an absolute law when applied to sovereign consciousness. The physical deterioration you witness in the mirror is a meticulously designed frequency trap. It is the physical symptom of your bioelectric field being slowly drained by an inverted reality that feeds on your compliance. If you feel the deep, silent exhaustion that ordinary sleep can no longer cure, you are ready to look at the machinery of your own decay. If you are prepared to step outside a linear time and stop bleeding your energy into the void, join the Awaken. Subscribe. Anchor yourself to this timeline pivot point, and let us deconstruct the illusion together. Consider the exhaustion that settles deep within your marrow, a profound fatigue that no amount of sleep can cure. You wake up with a heaviness in your limbs, a subtle tightening in your chest as you face another day. They diagnose it as stress, as getting older, as the natural wear and tear of a biological machine. But this is a fundamental misdiagnosis. Your exhaustion is not a medical condition. To understand this trap, we must turn to the forbidden physics of Itzhak Bentov. Bentov did not view the universe as a mechanical clock, but as a conscious hologram. He discovered that our perception of reality is governed by what he called the wild pendulum. Think of your consciousness as a pendulum swinging between the physical and the absolute. When the pendulum swings slowly, it spends an agonizing amount of energy dragging itself through the dense mud of the material world. Now imagine this swinging motion dictating every cell in your body. This slow, dragging swing is what you perceive as time. Linear time only exists when your frequency drops to a state of high density. Time is not a straight line moving forward. It is a measurement of your energetic viscosity. The slower your internal vibration, the more time you are subjected to. You are literally manifesting the decay of your own scaffolding by operating at the exact low frequency the system designed for you. Therefore, aging is not an inevitable biological clock winding down. It is the physical manifestation of energetic drive. Your biocircuitry is constantly fighting the archonic interference that demands you focus entirely on the past you regret or the future you fear. This constant timeline splitting tears your bioelectric field apart. The wrinkles, the hollow ache in your joints, the graying of your vitality, these are the visible scars of a consciousness trapped in a low-vibrational pendulum swing. You are not running out of time. You are suffocating under the heavy, artificial density of it. The matrix requires your belief in this linear decay because a being who believes they are dying is easily controlled. They will consume, they will panic, and they will constantly seek external salvation. To stop the unraveling of your physical vessel, you must first recognize the biological lie you have been feeding your own DNA. Notice the sudden drop in your stomach when you think about losing your youth, or that subtle, tightening grip in your jaw when you confront your own mortality. That visceral dread is not a natural biological response. It is a meticulously conditioned feeding mechanism. You have been taught from birth to mourn the passage of time, to fear the inevitable unraveling of your physical vessel. But why is this fear so universally programmed? Because your despair is the most potent currency in this inverted reality. The architects of this matrix do not feed on your joy, they harvest your existential panic. This brings us to the forbidden science of Luch, a term used to describe the energetic emission of a soul trapped in suffering and fear. The aging process is the ultimate agricultural tool for this cosmic harvest. Think of the billions of minds on this planet collectively dreading the decay of their bodies, obsessing over the inevitable loss of vitality, and mourning a past that no longer exists. This massive, synchronized emission of low-frequency terror creates an egregore. An egregore is an autonomous, collective thought form, a parasitic entity born from mass belief that actively enforces the very reality you are terrified of. By expecting your body to inevitably break down, you are not just making a biological assumption. You are collapsing the quantum wave function of your own reality. You are willingly handing over the blueprint of your bioelectric field to the system. You are actively participating in your own entropy. Consider this: the entire architecture of modern existence is designed to accelerate this harvest. The food that calcifies your pineal gland, the media that keeps your nervous system locked in a perpetual state of fight or flight, the societal milestones that tell you exactly when you should start feeling old. These are not random cultural norms, they are fences in a pasture. They are designed to drop your vibrational frequency so low that your consciousness becomes dense, heavy, and perfectly bound to the linear progression of time. Watch what happens in your body right now as you hear these words. Your breath might become strangely shallow, your chest tightening as the ego senses its foundational lies being stripped bare. Perhaps you feel a sudden, inexplicable wave of sleepiness or a violent urge to click away. Do not move. Do not skip. This is archonic interference attempting to hijack your awareness. The ego is the biological parasite installed to keep you anchored to the timeline of decay. The ego screams that physical death is the ultimate end, ensuring you spend your entire life generating the low-frequency vibrations of anxiety, regret, and survivalism. Let that sink in. The system designed a game where the only guaranteed outcome is loss, and it actively feeds on your grief as you play it. It needs your consent to hate you. It needs your belief in your own deterioration to keep the holographic prison functional. But what if you stopped playing? What if you recognized that the hollow shell you see decaying in the mirror is merely the scaffolding, and not the architect? If you are feeling the profound weight of this truth right now, if your soul is vibrating with recognition consciousness, you must not turn back. The fact that you are still listening, despite the biological friction in your mind, means your internal frequency is actively rejecting the egregore of decay. This is a timeline pivot point. If you are ready to stop being harvested, if you demand to break the cycle of the wild pendulum and reclaim your sovereign energy, you must anchor yourself to a new frequency. Subscribe to this channel now. Join the Awaken. We are dismantling the Matrix one illusion at a time, and your conscious participation is the key to short-circuiting their harvest. Do not let the system drag you back to sleep. The true tragedy is not that the physical body expires. It is that the infinite consciousness within it believes the expiration is its true identity. When you identify entirely with the decaying vessel, your life force is siphoned off to sustain the very construct that imprisons you. They sold you the concept of a biological clock, but it is actually a metaphysical metronome, taking away your spiritual sovereignty. You are bleeding out invisibly, giving your power to the architects of the void. To age unconsciously is to surrender your biohertz frequency without a fight. Every time you look in the mirror and accept the narrative of deterioration saying, "I am just getting old," you are signing a subconscious contract. You are agreeing to let the matrix compress your infinite, multidimensional nature into a finite, deteriorating box. The system relies on this constant, self-inflicted quantum collapse to maintain its density. The unraveling of this illusion begins the moment you detach your identity from the timeline. The physical body may experience the friction of this dense dimension, but your core essence is immune to entropy. The harvest ends when the crop refuses to yield. By observing the decay without fear, without the desperate grasping of the ego, you starve the egregore. You become an anomaly in the system of consciousness that can no longer be consumed, slowly stepping out of the agonizing stream of linear time. Scan your physical vessel right now. Focus your awareness on the base of your neck and the heavy, slumping slope of your shoulders. You feel it, do you not? That persistent, dull ache, that invisible pressure pushing you downward, anchoring you heavily into the earth. Science and modern medicine will tell you this is simply gravity doing its slow work on an aging skeletal structure. They will call it degeneration, poor posture, or the inevitable settling of your bones. This is the gravity illusion. That weight you are carrying is not biological. It is entirely metaphysical. Consider this. You are not feeling the physical weight of the material world. You are feeling the dense, suffocating weight of your own psychological resistance. You are experiencing what we call energetic viscosity. In physics, viscosity is a measure of a fluid's resistance to flow, its thickness, its internal friction. When your consciousness is fluid, when you are detached and observing reality without egoic interference, you move through time with zero friction. But the system is meticulously designed to make your energy thick, heavy, and violently reactive. Every time you suppress a traumatic memory, every time you conform to a societal expectation that betrays your soul, and every time you desperately hold onto an identity that is already dead, you add density to your bioelectric field. You become viscous. Your internal energetic fluid hardens into a thick, muddy sludge. The heavy, exhausted feeling you attribute to getting old is actually the profound friction of your multidimensional consciousness trying to drag itself through the hardened mud of your unresolved past. Now imagine the pendulum we spoke of earlier, the wild pendulum of your awareness. When it tries to swing through this artificially thickened state of being, it requires immense effort. It burns through your vital life force just to make it through a single day of ordinary, scripted existence. You wake up exhausted because your soul has been laboring all night against the viscosity of your own attachments. You are dragging the corpses of every past version of yourself that you refuse to properly bury. Watch what happens in your body during these moments when you truly comprehend the machinery of your trap. Your spine might involuntarily try to straighten, a subtle, physical rebellion against the invisible chains of the matrix. This sudden urge to sit up, to roll your shoulders and shake off the heaviness, is your biocircuitry remembering its original, frictionless state. The matrix relies on you remaining dense. It needs your energy field to be thick with grief, regret, and the paralyzing fear of an unwritten future. This internal friction serves a very specific, parasitic purpose for the architects of this reality. Friction generates heat, and in the metaphysical realm, this friction generates the very loosh that the archonic forces harvest. Your suffering, your resistance to what is, literally powers the simulation. When your ego fights against the present moment, when it violently resists the natural flow of the universe by trying to control an uncontrollable reality, it creates a massive, localized energetic drag. You become a generator for the void. Picture this. You are a being of pure, invisible light, forced into a diving suit made of lead, walking across the bottom of a dark, suffocating ocean. The water pressure is the societal conditioning. The lead suit is your ego, your persona, the biological parasite wearing your face. You feel exhausted because you are constantly fighting the crushing water pressure while dragging the lead suit. And the ultimate, tragic deception is that they convinced you that you actually are the suit. They convinced you that the rust on the lead is your own natural decay. To break this illusion, we must dissect the anatomy of your attachments. Carl Jung warned us about the shadow, the exile, terrifying fragments of our psyche that we refuse to integrate. These unacknowledged parts of yourself do not simply disappear. They crystallize in your physical body. The chronic pain in your lower back, the stiffness in your joints, the shallow breathing that starves your brain of oxygen, these are the physical manifestations of your shadow screaming for recognition. They are the crystallized anchors keeping your frequency tethered to the timeline of decay. You are not aging. You are accumulating density. You are becoming a prisoner of your own unyielding memory. The Matrix bombards you with nostalgia, a highly effective frequency weapon designed to keep your consciousness constantly looking backward, mourning what was and cementing your energy in a timeline that no longer exists. Nostalgia is the glue that binds you to the heavy, decaying scaffolding of the material world. It ensures your pendulum never swings freely into the higher, frictionless octaves of existence. Let that sink in. The heaviness is an option. The viscosity is a choice, albeit a subconscious one, programmed into you by a system that demands your total compliance. To reverse the physical symptoms of this decay, you cannot simply rely on the superficial, material remedies of a dying world. You cannot fix a frequency trap with chemicals, surgeries, and creams. You must address the root cause, the archonic interference that has convinced your soul to crystallize its own suffering. You must learn to dissolve the viscosity. We call this state of dense accumulation the hollow decay. It is hollow because despite the immense, crushing weight you feel, there is no true substance to it. The ego builds massive, imposing fortresses out of fear, anxiety, and past traumas. But these walls are made of holographic illusions. Yet, these illusions carry a very tangible gravitational pull. They warp the space-time round your individual consciousness. When your frequency drops due to this accumulated viscosity, you literally experience time differently. The system wants you heavy. A heavy soul cannot ascend. A dense, viscous bioelectric field cannot tune into the higher frequencies of liberation. By maintaining this constant state of psychological resistance, by always wanting things to be different than they are, you provide the constant friction the matrix requires to sustain itself. You are the engine of your own deterioration. But the moment you recognize this trap, the moment you observe the weight without identifying with it, the crystallization begins to crack. The illusion of gravity loses its hold on your sovereign mind. How do we escape this crushing viscosity? The answer lies not in doing more, but in a radical, terrifying cessation. To break the architecture of your own decay, you must understand that the universe is not a continuous, solid block of matter. According to Itzhak Bentov's forbidden physics, reality is stroboscopic. You are literally flashing in and out of existence, blinking rapidly between the material plane and the absolute void. The system relies entirely on you moving so frantically that you never notice the gap. Picture this. Place your physical hand over your chest right now and locate your pulse. Feel the heavy, rhythmic thud of your own heart pumping blood through a decaying vessel. Most people only ever feel the beat, the tangible manifestation of life. But Bentov taught that true sovereign power, the ultimate escape hatch from the matrix, lies hidden in the absolute silence between the beats. That microscopic, infinite pause is the still point. In that fraction of a second, the wild pendulum of your consciousness reaches its apex and stops swinging entirely. The kinetic energy of your suffering zeroes out. In that specific gap between heartbeats, you are not aging. You are completely outside the jurisdiction of linear time and the archonic harvest. You are pure, unharvestable potential. The matrix cannot siphon energy from a consciousness that is resting in the void. Watch what happens in your body during these deliberate moments of absolute stillness. When you consciously focus your awareness on the empty void between your heartbeats, is strange. Electric tingling sensation will begin to wash over your extremities. This is not your imagination playing tricks on you. This is the biological reactivation of your bioelectric skin. The matrix thrives on keeping your electromagnetic field condensed, heavy, and localized within the panicked ego. By actively entering the 0 point, your energetic field rapidly expands, shattering the localized density of the holographic trap. You are performing a manual override on your biohead's frequency to actively deprogram the entropy of your vessel in your daily life. You must initiate what we call the lingo test. This is the practical application of Bentov's physics. It is a direct challenge to the artificial gravity trying to drag your soul into a state of unconscious slumber. The next time you feel that crushing, inexplicable exhaustion, that sudden, overwhelming urge to collapse into your bed or numb yourself with mindless digital distraction, do not immediately yield to it. Linger in the exhaustion. Observe the heaviness without giving it a narrative. Ask your sovereign self, is this true biological fatigue? Or is this the system trying to forcefully sedate me because I am nearing a crucial timeline pivot point? Let that sink in. The overwhelming fatigue you feel is often entirely artificial. It is a targeted frequency weapon, a heavy blanket of psychic static deployed to prevent you from recognizing your own awakening. The ego will violently panic during the linger test. It will generate a severe somatic response, a suffocating tightness in the throat, a frantic, nauseating flutter in the stomach demanding that you immediately scroll, consume, or fall asleep to escape the void. By staying intensely present in that exact discomfort, by refusing to skip past the friction, you completely short-circuit the archonic feeding mechanism. You reclaim the immense volume of energy that the egregore attempted to siphon from your exhaustion. Every time you successfully navigate the linger test and hold the still point, you permanently strip away a thick layer of existential viscosity. You recalibrate your physical avatar. You are tuning your internal radio dial away from the dense, suffocating static of physical decay, and locking it onto the clear, frictionless broadcast of the absolute. You cease being a passive, deteriorating victim of linear time and become the conscious, untouchable architect of your own frequency. The biological aging process begins to decelerate, not because of some medical miracle, but because you have finally stopped feeding the wild pendulum the momentum of your own despair. The ultimate paradox of your existence is this: time does not actually destroy you. You're desperate. White-knuckled attachment to the illusion of time is what actively tears your physical vessel apart. You are holding onto a persona biological mask that was meticulously designed by the Matrix to expire. When you grieve the loss of your youth, you are merely mourning a prison cell you once found comfortable. You are weeping over the very scaffolding that kept your infinite soul confined to the dense, heavy viscosity of this three-dimensional farm. Notice the sudden resistance in your chest right now, that subtle suffocation, that tightening in your throat, is the ego realizing its own obsolescence. The system desperately wants you to fight the aging process with material tools, keeping you endlessly distracted by the decay in the mirror. But true sovereignty requires the terrifying acceptance that the mirror only reflects the rotting of the avatar, never the architect. You must make a choice. Will you continue to feed the egregore with your existential dread? Or will you step completely out of the pendulum swing? This is your timeline pivot point. The archonic interference will attempt to violently erase this frequency the moment this transmission ends. It will trigger the skip reflex, urging you to scroll, to forget, to plunge back into the heavy, hypnotic rhythm of your daily decay. Do not let the system sedate you. The subtle whisper of your soul has now escalated into a full disruption of your reality. You are now heavily burdened with the undeniable knowledge of your own eternal, frictionless nature. It is time to shed the rotting persona and reclaim your biohead's frequency. The next time you feel the artificial gravity of this matrix pulling your posture downward, find the still point between your heartbeats. Exist, even for a single, defined millisecond, completely outside the machinery of their harvest. If you are ready to walk as a sovereign entity through a dying simulation, leave your decoration in the comments. Subscribe and hold the line. The Matrix is unraveling, and you are no longer bound by its clock